Hi Tom.
Hey pal, how you keeping?
I'm very well, thank you. You got some recent form on this peg, I understand.
Yes, it's a good peg. It's peg 10 on Twin Oaks, and I drew it in one at recent spring festivals, and when I drew it I was a bit worried it was first day, and I was like, oh, not sure about it, because the best pegs are like 14, 16 and 18.
I've been here before, and that's always the end you want to be on, isn't it?
So when I drew it I was like, wow, and you've got to win your sections down here to win festivals. So I thought, right, what am I going to do? Because not only have I got to win my section, I've got to win the match on this lake. I've got to catch a big weight. I've got to catch 150 to 200 pounds.
That much?
So yeah, as much as that. There's a lot of fish in this lake. So I thought, well, there's only one way you're going to do it. I've got to attack it properly. So when I came to the peg I thought, right, recently they've allowed the method feeder, and I decided that I'm going to fish the method feeder to the far bank. And I knew on this lake from the previous spring festivals that there's a lot of big fish, a lot of big carp close in. Top two elasticated plus two sections. A lot of anglers go too far out, but they're on the ledge. They go into the deeper water where they're not. They're on the ledge, fish for them on the ledge. And then you feed an inside, each side of where you're fishing. And when they come inside you can see them. And they were my three approaches, three attacks, and I thought I'm not going to mess about with the things because the bait allowances don't always allow me to do that. So I've got a method feeder, 2 plus 2 and down the side.
Before we talk about bait, because obviously that's a really important thing here, but to catch that sort of weight, 150, 200 pound, you need strong gear, don't you?
You need balance gear, that's what you need. You need, it's not a case of, nowadays commercial fishing has changed, and we've all had to refine quite a lot of things, and I see a lot of anglers actually upgrading instead of degrading and using balanced equipment.
Okay, just run me through the kit you set up on the day.
Okay, well I set a method feeder rod up, a 10-foot mini rod, carp rod, 6 pound main line, which is just ordinary corum line, to a large method feeder, Preston method feeder, which runs, because everything's got to be free running down here, that runs on a quick change bead, which allows me to change the hook lengths or the different baits that I'm going to put inside the method feeder. On the method feeder down here, you've got to use a 4-inch hook length, so that hook length is 4 inches long. So
you never go longer than that on there?
No, I'd never. I'd want it, if anything, an inch shorter than that. I only find out that 3 inches is better than 4. It's the bait that's the key. You're either going to put ground bait on or you're going to put pellets on. This particular day I put pellets on, but it's a hook bait that's the key. And what you're going to put on, whether you're going to put a banded pellet on, or whether you're going to actually hair rig a pellet or a piece of meat or whatever it is. So it's the key to this type of fishing is what's on the feeder and what's in the feeder and on the hook bait.
Right. So just run me through the line and everything again. There's a main line.
Yeah, the main line's 6 pounds. So that's pretty strong. Hook length is 0.15 to a PR 36/16.
Okay, and you've got a band tied.
Well, I've got a band on this one, but on other rigs I've got a quick stop where I might put meat on or corn or another type of pellet.
Okay. Right, so it's pretty simple rig.
It's pretty simple. There's nothing complicated about it. Yeah. It's not about that, but it's all balanced. It's all balanced with everything.
Now, before you start throwing that, you've obviously had a throw across with the bomb at the start, I would imagine.
I always put a plummet on first, a big plummet, an ounce, a good one, not a light one that's going to stretch the line out so you can get it tight. Right. Because on this particular lake, up the far bank is where the feeding fish live. When you can fish to something like an island or the far bank, always fish it because that's where feeding fish live. So what I've done, I've clipped it up so that when I cast it out, I truss the clip. So that when the line hits the clip, it's going to stop the feeder dead and it's going to drop straight inside of that grass over there.
Right.
Because one of the first things when you get to your peg is, where am I going to fish it? I want to get it as close to the bank as I can. Because like I said, that's the feeding fish. And on this peg, I've got a lovely grass spot over there where I can cast it, pull my rod back and hit the clips when the rod is in the upright position. So I've got 2 or 3 winds on the reel. So cast, pull it back, hit the clip, trust it, and it'll land in the same spot the whole time.
Right. And I know a lot of anglers are frightened of fishing for big fish with line clips, aren't they? But obviously here, the fish can't go any further.
That's right.
Fishing to the limit anyway.
Again, if you want it, it's the best way of actually putting the feed in the same spot the whole time. But when you're fishing to an island, something or a far bank, you've got to use a clip. Otherwise,
and does that ledge come out away on there? Is it
it's quite steep on the far bank, and and it's actually undercut a little bit as well. It's not like this bank. I don't know why, but on this bank it seems to be quite shallow in the side. On the far bank, when you go round, you put your hands under the water. Okay. You can actually put your hands under it. Well, it's the feeding fish that's created that. I'm not quite sure. But all I know is, the closer you get to the grass, the quicker the bite.
And also, one thing that a lot of anglers are switching on to now, you mentioned about 10-foot rod.
Oh,
I mean, it's not very far across there, is it?
Well, you don't need long rods nowadays. When you're fishing commercial waters up to 40 yard wide, you only need a 10-foot mini rod. It's the best rod in the world. It's a little carp rod. It's not a 10-foot one rod. You know, old days when we used to go on rivers and we used to do little ones. This is a carp rod. It's made for carp fishing. And it's just condensed to 10 foot because it's comfortable to use. You can cast it easily. Yeah. It's no big problem. But the biggest beauty about the 10-foot rod is when you're playing them, when you're playing a fish on a 13 or 12-foot rod, it comes out. When it tops, it actually tops out. So you've got to keep playing it. Because you've got a smaller rod, it tops there, and you can net it first time, 9 times out of 10. Right, so you're not playing the fish and disturbing your peg the whole time. Okay. So that's the extra advantage. But that rod is probably if not the best rod ever made.
So did you expect on that particular day? Did you expect to catch most of your fish on that?
Yes, I did, because a lot of people hadn't been catching on the method, and I was on the other lake behind me, one of the days, and I caught some on the method. And I was hoping to draw on it just to try it, so I had a feeling I would catch on it, but I must admit I didn't think I would catch the weight that I would go catch. I thought I would have to catch some at 2 + 2 and some down the side.
Okay,
I just loved it.
Run me through your pole rigs then.
The setup on the pole is quite simple. I try not to complicate my fishing. I like to keep it as simple as possible. When I'm going to pick the pole and fish the pole during the match is the key, is when I'm going to actually do it. And what I'll be doing, I'll be feeding that, and what I'm trying to do is catch as many fish as I can on the tip, and while they're feeding I'll keep catching them. Because the longer I can catch on the tip and keep that area as long as I can on the pole, means when I go on it, hopefully I'll catch more fish at the end.
Feeding,
the more confident feeding. And I'm feeding the whole time. I might feed it with a cup, or I might even be throwing it if there's no wind, because I like to make the noise. So the inside swims I'll be feeding the whole time. But the rig is pretty basic and pretty simple. 13 hollow. I've gone off fishing to what we've tried to do nowadays is come down a scale instead of going up a scale. A lot of people make a mistake on that. So what I prefer to do is I believe in, if you get a fish on, make sure you get it out. If it takes a little bit longer, just get it out. 13 hollow. Yeah. I've got an into 3 float, one of the new ones. But the most important thing about that float is the bristle. Yeah. When you go in commercial fishing nowadays, is the thickness of the bristle. You don't want it too fat and you don't want it too thin. You just want it to be able to ride in the water. I want a float that goes bump.
And that's a hollow tip, isn't it?
It's a hollow tip. Yeah. It just works perfectly for carp fishing. Yeah. 3 rubbers on, so they don't run up and down. It's nice and simple. And the terminal tattle, Dave, I've been fishing for as long as a long time. And this part doesn't change a lot.
It's going to be a bulk and 2 droppers.
It's going to be a bulk and 2 droppers. It don't change much. No. And why people want to go into all these fancy things that don't catch anything, I use a 15cm hook length, which will be a size 16 PR32, 015 hook length, number 10 dropper, about 4 inches apart, and then about 6 inches above that is my bulk. And for carp fishing, I always use stots. Yeah. For roach fishing, I use shot. For carp fishing, I use stots.
Why?
Because they don't ping off in the net. Right. They might move sometimes, the bottom one, but you can just move it back. Yeah. But they don't ping off in the net. You can put a size 12 and 021 line. They're easy to work with, basically.
And we get, just going back on your rig this end,
yeah.
we get loads of letters sent into the magazine about what's the best way of connecting elastic to line. And I see you've just kept it simple with a plastic connector.
I see all the fancy things. No, I just a pole connector like that, simple pole connector. Yeah. And one of them that goes in hollow elastic, one of the bigger type, that fits on easy, it's comfortable. I don't understand why people are going in all these horrible things stuck on the end, the claws and everything like that. What's simpler than that? It's just simple, nothing. Dead easy.
When you're setting your elastic up then, do you set that just under tension, is it?
I set that elastic up so it's
really
actually
loose, isn't it?
2 inches shorter inside than the length of the pole, just so it always goes back on its own like that.
And you've obviously got a puller kit at the other end as
well.
well.
I always use, and one of the reasons why we have scaled down a little bit and we can use finer elastics and finer hook lengths is this beauty, the puller kit. Yeah. It's got to be one of the best little inventions ever made. People think it's a bulling tactic, and it's not a bulling tactic. What I use a grade less. So if I hook a bigger fish, I just pull it out and play the fish on that elastic and just tighten it up that way. Right. And just make it's more comfortable.